2:06. Okay. 10, 11, 12. Time is of the essence. Bam, bam. I had to reset because something be going on in late in the midnight hour, and things don't go as planned. Let me let's hear about this slavery
Bahama
stuff.
has received overwhelming support from the United Nations members to recognize the past transatlantic slave trade as a crime against humanity and the need for reparations for African nations. Resolution on the matter was introduced on Wednesday at the General Assembly in New York. It received 123 votes in favor, 3 votes against. They were Argentina, Israel, and the United States, while 52 countries, mostly European, including the UK, Portugal, and Spain, all abstained. This is when the vote actually took place.
Resolution A/80/L48 entitled Declaration of the Trafficking of Enslaved Africans and Racialized Chattel Enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. Will all delegations confirm that their votes are accurately reflected on the screen? The voting has been completed. Please lock the machine.
Argentina, Israel, United States.
Welcome to Atlanta, and I'm asking you to contribute $20 to this Senate campaign.
No. The result of the vote.
United States, UN nation vote to recognize slavery as the gravest crime against humanity.
3 abstentions,
hey,
52.
Denise.
Therefore, draft resolution A/80/L48 is adopted.
And it's fascinating that
folks, as we said,
Trump,
the 3 countries that actually voted against this resolution were the United States, Argentina, and Israel. The countries that actually abstained from the vote: Albania, Andorra, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Cambodia, Canada, Croatia, Cyprus, Czechia, Denmark, Estonia, Fiji, Finland, France, Georgia, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco.
Thank you,
Montenegro,
Queen Lakers.
The Netherlands,
hello.
New Zealand, Northern
Thank you so
Macau,
very much,
Norway, Oman, Palau, Paraguay,
for the $10
Poland,
super
Portugal,
chat.
Romania,
super sticker, super chat.
San Marino, Sao Tome,
Thank you.
Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, as well as Ukraine and the United Kingdom. They all abstained. There were 52 total abstentions, 3 against, and 122, of course, the votes that actually were for this numbered 123. Ghana's President Mahama spoke about the transatlantic slave trade earlier today.
Your Excellency, Secretary General of the UN, Excellencies, permanent representatives, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Progress is made in little steps. It is the forward motion towards something better, and changes often come incrementally. Today marks the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. It is a day on which we honor the memory of the approximately 13 million African men, women, and children who were enslaved over the course of several centuries. We remember them through articles, oral histories, through broadcast programs, books, music, visits to museums, monuments, and memorials such as the Ark of Return, located right here at the Visitors Plaza of the United Nations headquarters. Through these activities, we do more
what they
than
talking about
remember.
this.
We
So
document and educate.
there was a vote, a United Nations vote about slavery to be classified crimes against humanity. And the U.S., Trump voted no. Bibi Netanyahu in Israel said no. And Bibi Netanyahu's cousin, the president of Argentina, who the U.S. gave $40 billion to a couple of months ago, he also voted no. They don't think that slavery should be classified as crimes against humanity.
We gain greater perspective. We find the delicate balance
But
of learning
Ghana,
from history,
who brought it,
so that we do not repeat
won.
it while leaving our pain behind. In doing so, we begin to heal individually within our immediate communities and also within the global community.
Yes, that's what this
day
is.
of remembrance.
He said
did not
no, the
happen by
slavery
accident.
was not a crime against humanity.
2006, our global
But I keep
community
trying to
gathered
tell
here.
people making America great again was during that era. And, so free labor. So that goes along with the human everything that he's been about. The human trafficking, raping, sacrificing, stealing land, right? What else did he do? Yeah, that's what they're doing. It's symbolic of slavery. So when he pulls over the immigrants that have no documentation, no proof of citizenship, they take them to a foreign country, right? He wants to be able to ship them to a foreign country, non-native land, and enslave them and use them for free labor to rebuild
Just as we have done today,
these countries.
and resolved to designate the 25th of March of the following year a day of remembrance. It marks significant progress. Then the following year, in 2007, we decided to make the event an annual one, so that the 25th March of every year
Right here.
would be the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. That marked an additional step in our forward motion. And so it's indeed for teachers to be here today, 2 decades later, addressing the General Assembly on behalf of the African group regarding the draft resolution entitled Declaration of the Trafficking of Enslaved Africans and
Trafficking.
Racialized Chattel and
So the illegal
following year, in
immigrants,
2007,
they're considered,
we decided to
I try
make
to
the
tell
event
y'all,
an
they
annual
trafficking.
one, so that the 25th March of every year would be the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic
getting
slave trade.
closer to reparation.
That marked an additional step in our forward motion. And so it's indeed for teachers,
It's not about
here
who
today.
enslaved. It's about,
2 decades later,
okay, y'all, please. It's not about our people did it as well. I totally understand that. It's about the name. Is it whoever did it? Is it inhumane? Is it a crime against humanity? Regardless. But right now, what the president is pushing, that new world order, changing dollars into foreign, it's getting us closer to the new world order, as well as revelation time, where you're going to have to take that market at beast. So you're not going to be able to use your own money. Let me say it like that. Your own currency, trying to do away with our constitutional rights. Because all they have to do is allow Trump to keep moving past it until it's going to be null and void. What you need it for? If Congress won't stop him, if the judges won't stop him and let him do what he want to do, why are we going to need judges? Why are we going to need the Constitution of the United States? Why are we going to need rules? There's no need for that position if they're going to continue to allow him to do any and everything he wanted to do. Bibi Netanyahu, I think, is gone. I think he is gone. I think it's somebody more affiliated with Trump. But Trump don't realize it just yet because he's afraid of him, because he's slow. And Jared is over there making deals on behalf of him. He's not even a part of the cabinet. So why is he representing, quote unquote, the United States? That's just my opinion. But they doing stuff
the General Assembly on behalf
and we don't even realize what's going on. Yeah.
Of the African group regarding the draft resolution entitled Declaration of the Trafficking of Enslaved Africans and Racialized Chattel Enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. In September last year, at the 80th session of the General Assembly, I stood in this exact place and served notice that Ghana will move a motion to declare the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity.
The gravest.
This current draft resolution is a result of months of consultation and consensus building by continental bodies, nations, experts, scholars, and jurists, with the sole aim of achieving a united front and grounding the final outcome in truth, compassion, and moral conscience, remembrance, education, and dialogue. So today we come together in solemn solidarity to affirm truth.
Ghana and Nigeria did what?
To healing
Lord
and reparative justice. The adoption of this resolution serves as a safeguard against forgetting. It also challenges the enduring scars of slavery. Madam President, let me conclude with two significant quotes by two great leaders of history, one of them white and one of them black.
The Republican Party,
the former President of the United States of America, Theodore Roosevelt, said, and I quote,
should
with
know
a great
better
moral
and should
issue
be
involved,
shamed. Where a lot of them are in the Epstein
neutrality
files.
does not serve righteousness. For to be neutral between right and wrong is to serve wrong. Again, civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King also reminds us, and I quote, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We've traveled this long road, each step guided by a desire to be better and to do better. Each step bringing us closer to the kind of world we would want to leave for our children. And so delegates, on this beautiful day in March, we're called to stand on the right side of history. Let it be recorded that when history beckoned, we did what was right for the memory of the millions who suffered the indignity of the slave trade and those who continue to suffer racial discrimination. Let our vote on this resolution restore their dignity and humanity.
Now, yesterday, Ghana's president did not hold back criticizing the United States, Trump, for their attack on Black history, Black authors, and Black books.
Which earlier message?
Here
now
in the
they
United
recognize
States,
which is
Black
good
history
thing.
courses are being removed from school
Look
curricula.
at the sister back there.
Schools are being mandated to stop teaching students
That's true.
about the truth of slavery, segregation, and racism in American history courses. Books about those topics are being banned in schools and public libraries. Museums, art centers, and other institutions whose budgets rely in any way on public funds are being prohibited from scheduling exhibitions and programs or from displaying materials promoting racial awareness
So
of Black
that's in
history.
slavery. Which message?
Much like
Did
the
you
law that
see
was
my
put in
earlier
place to regulate the
message?
punishment of the enslaved in Barbados.
Did you see my earlier
These
message?
policies are becoming a template for other governments
Not to be. Did
as
you see
well
my
as some
earlier
private
message
institutions.
regarding
At the
Donald
very least,
Jr.?
They're slowly normalizing the erasure.
Reparations is well
They're slowly
overdue.
normalizing erasure.
It's shocking how much of the equipment we've used for decades contains forever chemicals.
No,
This is the
must
first
be being
innovation
held. Hold, it must be being held. No. Nope.
Folks, before today's vote by the United Nations, Ghana's president led a solemn wreath-laying ceremony at the African Burial Ground National Monument in New York City.
Did you send it to my IG or something?
Nearly 20,000 Africans who were enslaved and buried there. The poignant gesture marked Ghana's commemoration of the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. It was part of a broader push for reparatory justice. New York City President Zoran Mamdani,
Let me go to another device.
spoke at that ceremony as well.
First, thank you to the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, for hosting today's wreath laying. Ghana is a nation that holds deep meaning for me. My father gave me the middle name Kwame after Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, a leader who fought for freedom. And that longing of freedom unites all of humanity across geography and history. It is that longing for freedom and the sacrifices made by so many to win it that we are here today to commemorate. And I want to acknowledge a number of leaders that are also here with us. It was a pleasure to be preceded by Reverend Al Sharpton, as well as members of the President's team and representatives from across the region, including the Caribbean. I also am here with a number of leaders from our administration. We have our Commissioner, Afia Atamensa.
Yeah, no, I don't see anything about Donald Jr.
Commissioner Ana Maria Archia from the Office of International Affairs. We have our public advocate, Jumani Williams, who is here with us, as well as State Senator James Sanders, Assemblymember Al Taylor, so many other leaders, including our outgoing commissioner as well.
Hold on.
And we are here
Republicans walked out of court
in many ways because nearly 400 years ago, the first enslaved people arrived at the port of New York.
$670 million taxpayer money.
22 souls, likely from Angola, were originally aboard a Portuguese ship bound for sugar plantations in Cartagena before the Dutch intercepted and enslaved them once more, this time under the Dutch West India Company. And so began a shameful history of slavery here in our city. One that is just as much a part of our story as the Revolutionary War battles that were fought in Brooklyn or the bridges and skyscrapers that defied any precedent. According to New Amsterdam's 1665 tax list, 12% of the residents of this city at the time were slaveholders. By the mid-1700s, New York City was home to the most enslaved people outside of the South, until the Act for the Gradual Abolition of Slavery in 1799. Even then, freedom was partial and often cruelly withheld. None of the enslaved New Yorkers who helped to build Wall Street ever benefited from the enormous wealth that it created. And the dignity and security granted to so many of our earliest settlers was denied to those of African descent, even those fortunate enough to be deemed free. Land deeds once granted were rescinded, the franchise of voting so often out of reach. Our city and its incredible spirit, wealth, and global significance is inextricably intertwined with the horrific history of the transatlantic slave trade. One need look no further for proof than the very ground upon which we stand today, which was at one time the largest cemetery of Black New Yorkers, many of whom were enslaved. It was only when construction began on a 34-story federal building on this site in 1991 that our city paused to reckon with what was here. I am grateful to the community members, historians, archaeologists, all those who helped to reveal what lay beneath our streets, to draw attention to the history of our city. And as was said earlier, the tension that also lies at the heart of it. That history must never be forgotten. And when we tell it, let us tell it in its totality. For we know the history of Black New Yorkers is not just one of oppression. It is one of resistance, of organizing, of fighting for freedom, among so much else. Let us tell the stories of Black New Yorkers who fought in the slave revolt of 1712, demanding dignity only 1 year after the first slave market in New York City was erected at the foot of Wall Street. Let us tell the story of the community of Weeksville, founded in 1838, just 11 years after New York State outlawed slavery, and how it would grow into a self-sustaining, safe haven for escaped and freed slaves with its own schools, churches, and newspapers. And let us tell the story of the many who continue to resist the long shadow of slavery and discrimination. From the thousands of men, women, and children who participated in the silent march on Fifth Avenue in 1917, to the activists and archivists who have continued to honor the legacies of those whose names would otherwise be lost to time. Today, as we gather to remember the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, let us recommit to the work of building a New York City where every New Yorker can live a life of dignity and freedom that so many other New Yorkers were so cruelly denied, that so many sacrificed so much to obtain.
Why are we showing a terrorist? Keith, what are you talking about?
Nature of Black history and New York City history.
What are you talking about?
Let us also ensure that this is a city where the writing of Black history can continue in the weeks and months and years to come.
What are you talking about?
May we honor the memory of those that we have lost as we build a New York City worthy of its struggles.
All right, folks, we have Jahan LeBlanc back. Jahan, you were saying that it's a resolution, but the reality is it is important to see the folks who are on record and where they stand in terms of other countries.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely. I think part of this process, part of the reason that President Muhammad this resolution is because
what are you talking about, Keith?
The conversation.
Bye. I don't want to try to debate anything like that with you tonight. Come back another day. You want to be combative. You know, if you want us to know what you're talking about, put it all out there. Don't put anything about a terrorist in my chat. Don't do that.
Groups have received reparations, like the Japanese. We have the Holocaust survivors, and now African Americans, people of African descent, want reparations for the harm that had been done to them. So I think it's a good step in the right direction. But however, in order for the UN to actually do something about this, it has to go to the UN Security Council. Otherwise, this is merely a resolution that will just elevate the conversation politically and diplomatically.
Well, and we know that the United States is one of several countries that has a permanent veto on the UN Security Council, and so that stops anything from moving forward.
Absolutely. And under this administration, it was expected that the government would not recognize this resolution. I'm going to vote in favor of it because, as we know, this administration is anti-anything that it considers to be
I can't. She's breaking up.
There's to be a rewrite of bringing back history or setting the record straight. All right. So it was expected. So I think this is the beginning of the process. We're not going to the end of it today with this resolution. It's going to take some time. Perhaps under the next administration, the Mahama administration will lobby the United States to actually recognize this and bring it to the UN Supreme Council. But you also have to get China, which China actually voted to recognize this, as well as Russia, right? So there are a number of other ones who are a member of the UN Security Council who actually abstain from voting.
Ghana secures United Nations backing on slave trade reparations.
Forward, I currently President Mahama for doing this. But at the same token, though, what does that mean, right? So if we're going to acknowledge this to be one of the worst things that have happened in history,
they want to act like it never happened.
For people of African descent, perhaps who want to return back to the continent, right? Like, for example, if you want
he wants to rewrite history.
Ghana, the citizenship process costs
because y'all remember I told y'all off in the there are funds way down in the closet, a hidden closet in the file that they don't want us to know. That came out about 6-7 months ago. I played it for y'all where they don't want us to know that there was funds set aside. It's in there. It's overlooked, and in their minds is they don't ever want us to know that there is funds set aside for that because they want to use it for other things. I told y'all that a long time ago. We heard one of those recordings. Okay. Auntie, did you see the big move in Canada? I meant to ask you, but I don't know. Oh, what big move?
$500, right? Whereas a Jew would like to return back to Israel, the process is actually free, right? To come back home. So I think the continent collectively, the African Union, should have a better system in place to better accommodate people of African descent who wish to perhaps return back home. Secondly, I think one of the worst things that happened to people of African descent, besides slavery, was the colonization of our minds, right? And until we train ourselves and ourselves on the continent and the way we think about the world, I think no matter what kind of reparations that we have, as a group of people, it will be incredibly difficult to advance.
All right, Jahan LeBlanc, we certainly appreciate you joining us from Africa. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, bringing to my panel, Dr. Zachary Kirk, educator and content creator from Atlanta, Rebecca Carruthers, President and CEO, Fair Election Center out of D.C., Patrick Schaefer, political philosopher and public scholar out of Chicago. Glad to have all three of you here. Zachary, I'll start with you. Listen, when you look at this here, again, does it carry weight? No. Is it a question of seeing where countries stand? Yes. Listen, you talk about Argentina, they have a serious issue with racism. Listen, the Nazis, a lot of the Nazis fled Germany after World War II, and they decamped to Argentina. And so you have Israel and the United States, the three countries voting no. And so let's talk about that, but also those 52 countries that abstain. A lot of European folks abstain.
Yeah, I have to.
Criminal.
Yeah.
It's
okay, I got it. I see it.
We live in a nation that was built on the backs of our ancestors, enslaved people. And the least this country can do, not what they should do, which is reparations, not what they should do, which is ensure fair and adequate and equal opportunity to every single American citizen, because that's so far beyond the understanding of those that we, the American people, have put in power. But the least they can do is recognize the atrocities. This was the simplest, easiest thing this nation could have done to make a small step towards atonement for all of us who are those who remain of the evil that they did to our ancestors, and they couldn't even do that. This is extremely disappointing, and this is something that I'm so thankful that you're bringing to the forefront, and that needs to be echoed by your audience. We just share this and share this broadly so that our people know what our country continues to do to us every single day.
It was the least they could do. It did carry any weight whatsoever, Rebecca, but it's abundantly clear where they stand.
It's very abundantly
You know,
clear.
Roland, I had so many emotions watching that because this is one of the few experiences that I've ever had in life where I've seen another country stand up for me. And the reason why I say it like that, being a Black American whose family has been in this country for centuries, I don't have the luxury like some of my friends who are first, second, third generation in this country, where if it goes down in this country, they know their country of recent origin will stand up and say something. They know that that country's president or premier or ambassador is going to talk to this government about how their people are being treated in this country. But when you are a Black American in this country, you don't get that. And so to even see Ghana stand up and advocate for Black Americans in that way is so powerful because we don't have that. We don't get that because as far as people are concerned, we didn't have a history. As far as some people are concerned, Black Americans didn't have a history before 1619, and that simply is not true. So that was very powerful. But it also makes me think about whenever I go to Europe, I think about the last time I was in Portugal, I took a African tour of Portugal tour, and it was led by several Africans. And what was interesting about that tour, they really pointed out how across Portugal, they don't talk about their role in the slave trade. So there's many Portuguese citizens who have no idea the role that Portugal played in kicking off the transatlantic slave trade. And when I've done similar tours in France, it's a cognitive dissonance. So am I surprised that those European nations who primarily benefited from the transatlantic slave trade, aka the greatest human trafficking in human history, does it surprise me that they had nothing to say? No, but guess what? We're coming for
Yeah, I saw it. I'll do some research. But I'm not surprised about that because I kind of talked about the subpoena. They were supposed to be arrested some time ago and taken off. But yeah, I saw that he was funneling $670 million.
The fact that we're talking about reparations and redress and repair is because that slavery has.
But right now, to me, this part is more important. Yeah, because they can try until they get him locked up.
But the logic and the system of slavery still
Republicans walked out without Congresswoman motion to subpoena Donald Trump over $600 million. Yeah, I saw that.
How is history behind us if the structure of that history is still present with us? And so I think that it is a great conversation, and I'm more interested in what is material justice.
Yeah, because I had mentioned something earlier about the minerals or something. Yeah, I saw that. Some things I don't. Yeah. I made mention earlier. I don't know if you was in here on my live before. Sometimes when y'all not here, I have already mentioned some stuff. And I told you I mentioned earlier about the whole family. He has gotten his whole family involved and in trouble recently. Yeah, I kind of made mention to it, but maybe you wasn't here. And about Canada, I'm not sure. Trump may be in contempt. Ghana president calls out Europe. Yeah, and I only got 2 hours because I had planned for us to even watch. Yeah, but I tried to warn y'all about this slave stuff with Trump, Epstein, not Epstein, Bibi Netanyahu and his brother. Told y'all then there was something to that. And I'm finna go, but I had a whole...
Today, most of us would be shocked to see someone buying human beings as though they were livestock or used cars.
Because this is where he wants to go back to, whether we're not. So when I keep saying with Trump making America great again, it's making America slaves again. I don't be just talking, but y'all don't pay attention to that type stuff. They go in one ear and out the other. And then when they start talking about it later on, then y'all want to get all excited about it. When I had already tried to get y'all prepared for what was coming, y'all pay attention to the wrong thing at the wrong time for me. Yeah, so send it to my, I look at it. But that's not what I'm on right now, because when I was on it, y'all wasn't paying attention to
or
it.
simply working them to death.
So let me move on to Candace respectfully, and I don't mean no harm by it, but I've been putting that out. Y'all for some reason y'all don't be here when I'm talking about the stuff, and then once it get a little, again, it may be my fault. Maybe I be bringing y'all the tea ahead of the game, and y'all don't be ready for it. Y'all don't understand it. It ain't normal talk for y'all. Y'all can't see past what they the propaganda that's before y'all. And so, I tried to tell y'all by the time it gets important,
I think this would be
or it has made movements, then y'all would get excited about it, and I would have already covered it. And at that point, it'll be too late. I be trying to tell y'all on the cool. Y'all don't want to hear that.
Right, you.
Y'all don't want to hear that. And again, I'm going to say maybe it's my fault. Maybe I bring y'all tea too early, too far ahead. Y'all, a lot of people like it once everybody's talking about it. They don't want knowledge ahead of time to be prepared for it. That's how people get caught. That's how people get caught. And then people investing in bitcoins and cyber currency. Oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, it's a good investment. Yeah, that's how they trick you. They trick you. And then whatever year that they are intended to flip the switch, you would have bought off into your own mark of the beast. Because you were paying attention. You woke up too late. Let's go.
Guys, happy Thursday. We've got a lot going on today. We're going to go back very briefly to Fort Huachuca.
Not Fort Huachuca.
Some fort, as Andrew Colvett infamously said, couldn't have been more obvious right away. The amount of money they spent on that campaign to debunk Mitch immediately, so over the top. They were never successful at doing that. The public remains curious whether or not he saw that security meeting take place. And Baron Coleman has discovered, and I have confirmed, that there was another plane that's associated with Turning Point USA that spent time at Fort Huachuca
Enjoy your supper.
After the assassination. So Mitch's story is becoming increasingly more feasible. But big news, exciting news. I believe we have at long last solved the mystery of the tarmac hug, thanks to the police scanner on September 10th in Provo, upon which the officers were discussing sending a team to pick up Erika. Look, these people are simply not going to get away with what they did to Charlie. Not if Drewski the comedian has anything to do with it. I will be reacting to his viral skit later. Welcome back to Candace. All right, this episode is brought to you by Knick Knack, a dissolvable nicotine pouch that is perfect when you need a quick, no-fuss moment during the day. Try it yourself by visiting knickknack.com/Candace. Where to begin, you guys? Where to begin? Let's start with that police scanner, shall we? Because I made a statement yesterday that I felt confident that we could rely on Frank Turek's estimation that Erika arrived at the hospital at 4 p.m. Okay, that was one of my we don't know, but we know things, right? We have common sense. Military men keep time. He's not going to be off by an hour and a half. And I was right, because a few of you guys sent us tips that actually there was a recording on the police scanner from that day wherein it is mentioned that a Sergeant Dupay was going to pick up Erika Kirk from Provo Airport. So let's take a listen to that.
Confirming this channel secure. Negative. Provo main channel is not secure.
My apologies. I was just saying, is service channel able to be scanned, or can I give information over this channel?
You're good. We unpatched the service channel, so this is just Provo service. Go ahead and talk.
This will be info for IC. Myself and Sergeant Dupay are en route to Provo Airport. Victim's wife is arriving at 3:30.
2J436.
436. Go ahead.
Was there a ATL sent out?
Okay, and obviously we just have AI telling you what.
Let's go ahead and talk.
This will be info for IC. Myself and Sergeant Dupay are en route to Provo Airport. Victim's wife is arriving at 3:30.
2J436.
436. Go ahead.
Was there a ATL sent out?
Okay, and obviously we just have AI telling you what it said there. When they say 436, they're not talking about the time. They're probably talking about the police cruiser number, whatever. But 3:30 is when that pickup is scheduled for. So basically we can conclusively confirm that Erika did not wait an hour on the tarmac for Andrew's alleged plane to land at about 4:40 p.m., right? 3:30 was the pickup. So this only makes sense if Andrew was aboard Charlie's plane with Erika, okay? For some reason, maybe I had and I just forgot, but for some reason I feel as though I did not consider the most obvious answer to how this tarmac hug took place. Gratefully, you guys at home are smarter than me a lot of the times, and you can see what's right in front of me sometimes when I cannot. The tarmac hug obviously had to take place.
Simple. I only pay $10 a month for my internet connection. Fast, unlimited, anywhere.
Have you heard about Ryoko Pro? This is in Scottsdale. It's the only thing that makes sense. Of course it did. It did not happen in Provo at all. It happened in Scottsdale. And I feel tremendously confident about that now because of what Andrew said to me on the phone. He said he was alone on the plane, but he also said how he had acquired all of this anxiety. He said everyone was messaging him, asking what was going on, and he had no one to talk to. And this is the most crucial part. He told me that he didn't know what was going on. So he's fielding all of these questions from people, myself among those people, by the way, regarding Charlie, and he didn't know what was going on with Charlie. He didn't know the answer. Well, there was only 1 hour, not even 1 hour, when he didn't know what was going on with Charlie, okay? Before they were all made aware, and I mean the core team, the infrastructure at Turning Point, that Charlie had died. We got about a 40-minute window where he did not know what was going on, where he couldn't answer questions. The only time frame that he didn't know what was going on with Charlie was in that immediate aftermath of Charlie being shot, which is the exact time that the Santa Barbara flight takes off and heads for Scottsdale. Andrew Coet was aboard this flight. I feel very confident stating that. If he comes out and says he wasn't, I'll adjust, right? But looking at all the facts, let's think about it. The flight takes off 5 minutes after Charlie is shot, okay? I feel we can bet that Andrew was on it because he is messaging a bunch of people. Like I said, I was one of the people that he was messaging. I messaged him at 12:40 Mountain Time, so a little under 20 minutes after Charlie got shot, and I said, please say he's okay. And Andrew Colbert replied and said, I don't know. Shot for sure. And then at 1:19 p.m. Utah time, Andrew said to me, he has a pulse, but I know nothing else. So he doesn't know anything else at this time. This is the only plane that Andrew could have been on, whereupon he did not know, okay? We have to stress that. This is the only plane. The plane from Santa Barbara to Scottsdale is the only plane that fits the description of Andrew not knowing what is going on with Charlie. Now, Erika claims that he was on the flight that landed at 4:30 p.m. into Provo. She's lying. Erika's always lying, okay? And she's definitely lying about that because Andrew would have known that late that Charlie was dead. He would have known what was going on. That could not have been the flight that Andrew Colbert was on because the entire world at that moment knew what was going on with Charlie Kirk. They knew that Charlie Kirk had passed away. And Andrew actually himself confirmed how soon he found out. He put it at about between 30 and 40 minutes after Charlie had been shot, which is about the time frame that Erika is going to learn that Charlie did not make it, was around the time that he learned that Charlie had died. Take a listen.
How long did it take?
I need for y'all to hit the like button.
There was I don't know, I want to say probably 30 or 40 minutes.
Okay.
So there was a report.
Fast.
There was a report. Yeah, it was before. I knew before Trump put the Truth Social out.
Between 30 and 40 minutes. Okay? 30, 40 minutes after Charlie gets shot, he knew that Charlie did not make it. So the story goes that Andrew took off right after Charlie got shot from Santa Barbara. He received the news while he was in the air that he did not make it, that Charlie died. He therefore, being on this plane by himself, had a lot of pent-up emotion, just like he told me, and no one to speak to aboard the flight. Some heavy news to take and to accept and to digest while you're aboard the flight. And then he touches down in Scottsdale. And Erika is the first person that he sees when the plane doors open. And he releases all of that pent-up energy, people fielding, asking questions, is he okay? And then finally learning that Charlie Kirk is dead in a hug with Erika. This is why Erika cannot answer whether or not his wife was on the plane, because this hug took place in Scottsdale, and Andrew's wife was not present for that. So I am surmising that the TPUSA core crew all gathered at Scottsdale Airport. Okay. They all met. That was a meeting point at Scottsdale Airport after Charlie Kirk got shot. And let me tell you why this deeply matters, why I was not letting this go, okay? Why I'm like a dog with a bone on this detail. Actually, I'll allow Baron Coleman to tell you why it matters.
Why does this matter? Great question. Here's why it matters. Because if Andrew left Santa Barbara before Charlie got shot, then there was a plot to kill him. That's why it matters. If Andrew left Santa Barbara before Charlie got shot, there was a plot to kill Charlie Kirk. And Andrew knew about it. That's why it matters. In my opinion, it is evidence that that might have been the case and that they've been lying to us the entire time. That's why it matters.
Precisely, Baron. It matters because it suggests, it does not conclude, okay, but it suggests, certainly, that there may have been some sort of a foreknowledge, because for what other reason would Andrew be sitting on a tarmac just about to fly to Scottsdale when Charlie gets shot? For what other reason would he be taxiing on a runway, because that's what it would have had to been. I think it takes off 5 minutes after Charlie shot. So you have to be taxiing, right, when Charlie gets shot. Now, if I was playing devil's advocate, and it's good to play that, but you should remember that you are therefore advocating for the devil, I would say, well, Turning Point's in Arizona. Maybe, he did the first hour of his show live, and maybe he had a meeting or something. His PR team's there, a lot going on. It's the beginning of the tour. Maybe he was just actually traveling to Scottsdale. But if that was the case, they wouldn't be hiding it. This would not be something to hide or to lie about, right? You would just be like, oh yeah, I hugged Erika on the tarmac when I got to Scottsdale. It's crazy. It's crazy coincidence. I was flying to Scottsdale, and Charlie got shot. You come right out with that. So yeah, I am suggesting that they all met up at Scottsdale Airport. My very strong opinion is that is what transpired on that day based on the evidence that is sitting before us. Because I will tell you what did not happen. Andrew did not sit in Santa Barbara for 3.5 hours twiddling his thumbs before then finding a plane that could get him to Provo. It's pretty easy to get a private jet. That's a nonsense narrative. A nonsense narrative. Erika, similarly, did not wait until 4:30 for him to arrive at the tarmac and then hug him on the tarmac to greet him in Provo and then head to the hospital with him. We now know that officially did not happen. The timeline does not work because of what Andrew told me happened and what the police scanner is saying about when Erika was picked up. So what is much more likely is that they met at the Scottsdale Airport, all of them, they communicated in person, perhaps in the unmarked building, and then they all traveled together to Provo aboard Charlie's plane. Cell phones off. That's my theory. And I'm going to put out another APB here regarding who Charlie's pilot was, okay? I know that his first name is Jamie, but that's all I know. I think he might be from Texas, and I would like to know more about Jamie. I would like to reach out to Jamie. Does anybody know more information about who Jamie the pilot is? Because I think this would be crucial information, a crucial person for me to learn more about and for me to be able to reach out to. I think that's an unidentified character here. So please email us at moretips@CandaceOwens.com if you know who the pilot Jamie is. I will leave no stone left unturned. Will he talk to me? Probably not, but I'm going to try. This means that we now need to go back and revisit that minute-by-minute timeline that I created way back when, because it just shows you how implausible it is, how they are lying to us. This is massive. Turning Point USA is lying. They are lying about what transpired on that day, okay? Our minute-by-minute timeline from, leading up to when the shot is fired, and if you kind of get down, we can kind of go, these are like Mikey's immediate phone calls. We can go to the next page here, and this is what I believe happened. I'm putting this out as my theory, that Andrew departed from Santa Barbara, headed for Scottsdale at approximately 1:03, according to his memory. He learned that Charlie Kirk did not make it. That would track with Erika at the airport, Elizabeth's story. Erika told me, obviously, that she found out just before they got onto the plane, or before they got on the plane. I don't know if she said just before, but she knew before she got on that plane. And we can see Andrew is then going to land into Scottsdale. And have that tarmac hug with Erika. And then there's this mysterious flight that I know nothing about, but I think it's relevant. We saw it today, that departs from Page, Arizona for Provo, because I remember that Page, Arizona, that was that N888 flight that was very strange. It was also going back and forth from Page, so I just wonder what was going on in Page, Arizona on that day. Then we know that Marina Muniz is going to ask Aubrey to draft the death statement. She says that Andrew is on a plane.
I've been waiting on y'all to get the lights up.
I think they had their phones off. Dustin is going to send the email that was drafted by Aubrey. Said to me he has a pulse.
Y'all not gonna get the lights up? Because I can shut it down now. That's just the type of mood I'm in.
But I know nothing else. So he doesn't know anything else at this time. This is the only plane that Andrew could have been on, whereupon he did not know, okay? We have to stress that. This is the only plane. The plane from Santa Barbara to Scottsdale is the only plane. Let's think about it. The flight takes off 5 minutes after Charlie is shot, okay? I feel we can bet that Andrew was on it because he is messaging a bunch of people. Like I said, I was one of the people that he was messaging. I messaged him at 12:40 Mountain Time, so a little under 20 minutes after Charlie got shot.
Pat
and
Rogers.
I said, please say he's okay. And Andrew Colvett replied and said, I don't know. Shot for sure. And then at 1:19 p.m. Utah time, Andrew said to me he has a pulse, but I know nothing else. So he doesn't know anything else at this time. This is the only plane that Andrew could have been on, whereupon he did not know, okay? We have to stress that. This is the only plane. The plane from Santa Barbara to Scottsdale is the only plane that fits the description of Andrew not knowing what is going on with Charlie. Now, Erika claims that he was on the flight that landed at 4:30 p.m. into Provo. She's lying. Erika's always lying, okay?
Always.
And she's definitely lying about that because Andrew would have known that late that Charlie was dead. He would have known what was going on. That could not have been the flight that Andrew Colvett was on because the entire world at that moment knew what was going on with Charlie Kirk. They knew that Charlie Kirk had passed away. And Andrew actually himself confirmed how soon he found out. He put it at about...
Can I ask you a question?
Sure thing.
How much do you spend on groceries per week?
Like $150, $200, 200, I think.
Like...
Between 30 and 40 minutes after Charlie had been shot, which is about the time frame that Erika is going to learn that Charlie did not make it, was around the time that he learned that Charlie had died. Take a listen.
How long did it take before you knew he had died?
There was I don't know, I want to say probably 30 or 40 minutes.
Okay.
So there was a report.
Fast.
There was a report. Yeah, it was before. I knew before Trump put the Truth Social out.
Between 30 and 40 minutes. Okay. 30, 40 minutes after Charlie gets shot, he knew that Charlie did not make it. So the story goes that Andrew took off right after Charlie got shot from Santa Barbara. He received the news while he was in the air that he...
Well, the guy that was there has said it when he went up on the
Being on
hill.
this plane by himself had a lot of pent-up emotion.
He said that Charlie...
And no one to speak to aboard the flight.
Lord.
Some heavy news to take and to accept and to digest while you're aboard the flight. And then he touches down in Scottsdale. And Erika is the first person that he sees when the plane doors open. And he releases all of that pent-up energy, people fielding, asking questions, is he okay? And then finally learning that Charlie Kirk is dead in a hug with Erika. This is why Erika cannot answer whether or not his wife was on the plane, because this hug took place in Scottsdale, and Erika's wife was not, Andrew's wife was not present for that. So I am surmising that
Are we forgetting?
the TPUSA core crew all gathered at Scottsdale Airport. Okay. They all met. That was a meeting point at Scottsdale Airport before, after Charlie Kirk got shot. And let me tell you why this deeply matters, why I was not letting this go, okay? Why I'm like a dog with a bone on this detail. Actually, I'll allow Baron Coleman to tell you why it matters.
Why does this matter? Great question. Here's why it matters. Because if Andrew left Santa Barbara before Charlie got shot, then there was a plot to kill him. That's why it matters. If Andrew left Santa Barbara before Charlie got shot, there was a plot to kill Charlie Kirk. And Andrew knew about it. That's why it matters. In my opinion, it is evidence that that might have been the case and that they've been lying to us the entire time. That's why it matters.
Precisely, Baron. It matters because it suggests, it does not conclude, okay, but it suggests, certainly, that there may have been some sort of a foreknowledge, because for what other reason would Andrew be sitting on a tarmac just about to fly to Scottsdale when Charlie gets shot? For what other reason would he be taxiing on a runway, because that's what it would have had to been. I think it takes off 5 minutes after Charlie shot. So you have to be taxiing, right, when Charlie gets shot. Now, if I was playing devil's advocate, and it's good to play that, but you should remember that you are therefore advocating for the devil, I would say, well, turning points in Arizona. Maybe, he did the first hour of his show live, and maybe he had a meeting or something. His PR team's there, a lot going on. It's the beginning of the tour. Maybe he was just actually traveling to Scottsdale. But if that was the case, they wouldn't be hiding it. This would not be something to hide or to lie about, right? You would just be like, oh yeah, I hugged Erika on the tarmac when I got to Scottsdale. It's crazy. It's a crazy coincidence. I was flying to Scottsdale and Charlie got shot. You come right out with that. So yeah, I am suggesting that they all met up at Scottsdale Airport. My very strong opinion is that is what transpired on that day based on the evidence that is sitting before us.
Oh,
because
wow.
I will tell you what did not happen. Andrew did not sit in Santa Barbara for 3.5 hours twiddling his thumbs before then finding a plane that could get him to Provo. It's pretty easy to get a private jet. That's a nonsense narrative. A nonsense narrative. Erika, similarly, did not wait until 4:30 for him to arrive at the tarmac and then hug him on the tarmac to greet him in Provo and then head to the hospital with him. We now know that officially did not happen. The timeline does not work because of what Andrew told me happened and what the police scanner is saying about when Erika was picked up. So what is much more likely is that they met at the Scottsdale Airport, all of them, they communicated in person perhaps in the unmarked building, and then they all traveled together to Provo aboard Charlie's plane. Cell phones off. That's my theory. And I'm going to put out another APB here regarding who Charlie's pilot was, okay? I know that his first name is Jamie, but that's all I know. I think he might be from Texas, and I would like to know more about Jamie. I would like to reach out to Jamie. Does anybody know more information about who Jamie the pilot is? Because I think this would be crucial information, a crucial person for me to learn more about and for me to be able to reach out to. I think that's an unidentified character here. So please email us at moretips@CandaceOwens.com if you know who the pilot Jamie is. I will leave no stone left unturned. Will he talk to me? Probably not, but I'm going to try. This means that we now need to go back and revisit that minute-by-minute timeline that I created way back when, because it just shows you how implausible it is, how they are lying to us. This is massive. Turning Point USA is lying. They are lying about what transpired on that day, okay? Our minute-by-minute timeline from, leading up to when the shot is fired. And if you kind of get down, we can kind of go, these are like Mikey's immediate phone calls. We can go to the next page here. This is what I believe happened. I'm putting this out as my theory, that Andrew departed from Santa Barbara, headed for Scottsdale at approximately 1:03, according to his memory. He learned that Charlie Kirk did not make it. That would track with Erika at the airport, Elizabeth's story. Erika told me, obviously, that she found out just before they got onto the plane, or before they got on the plane. I don't know if she said just before, but she knew before she got on that plane. And we can see Andrew is then going to land into Scottsdale. And have that tarmac hug with Erika. And then there's this mysterious flight that I know nothing about, but I think it's relevant. We saw it today, that departs from Page, Arizona for Provo, because I remember that Page, Arizona, that was that N888 flight that was very strange. It was also going back and forth from Page, so I just wonder what was going on in Page, Arizona on that day. Then we know that Marina Menes is going to ask Aubrey to draft the death statement. She says that Andrew is on a plane. I think actually he had his phone off. I think they had their phones off. Justin Stripe is going to send the email that was drafted by Aubrey announcing Charlie's death to the entire Turning Point USA staff at 2:27. 2:31, Charlie's plane, I believe with all of them on it, departs from Scottsdale and heads for Utah. At 2:40, President Trump announces that Charlie has died via a Truth Social post. And then that flight that I unidentified lands into Provo from Page at 2:48. And then we have from the police cruiser, from the police scanner, that Erika, Elizabeth, and Tyler, and Stacey Sheridan and co. are going to be escorted to Timpanogos Hospital. And what I will say is I don't believe Andrew went with them. I think Andrew waited for an hour on the tarmac for his wife. And I believe that 436 plane, as my memory serves, is that he said, yeah, of course I want you to come, to his wife, because that's just what I remember him saying. And I immediately thought his wife scrambled and went to Provo a bit later. I believe she then lands on that 436 plane from Santa Barbara. And then Andrew and her go to the hospital and go through a different entrance, the front entrance, and not the one that Erika and Elizabeth McCoy and Stacey Sheridan and Catherine Lowe Castro and Tyler Boyer went through. This is my thesis that I feel I have worked on with evidence and facts and putting things together, attempting to communicate, obviously, with Turning Point USA, but that has been sort of a dead end since they sent me the cease and desist. Yeah, I think this is correct. And it's problematic. At the very least, we can conclude that Erika and Andrew did not hug in Provo, which only leaves us with Scottsdale. Now, it is incredible, by the way, to go back and to realize how many times Erika Kirk has lied. Just little lies that she told and that we keep catching. And my producer today caught that infamous New York Times article that she did, interview that she did immediately following Charlie's assassination, where she welcomed them, the enemy of Charlie Kirk, into their condo and granted them the first interview of the aggrieved widow, where there's tons of little mistakes that don't feel like mistakes to me. I do not believe, for all their faults, that the New York Times sat down and lied about what the widow told them. You would have to believe that to think that the New York Times made mistakes and Erika didn't give them wrong answers, right? Little things like when they say Erika was in the hospital with her mom. That's a lie. Erika's mother was not in the hospital on September 10th. Erika's mother was at an opt-in, well, in general, the treatment that's being referred to. Erika's mother goes to an opt-in treatment center, you know, the likes of which you see at IV places, tons of chairs around. The idea was to sort of double inflict the public with this concept of the widow who was just doing the right thing at the right time and was already in a hospital. And then with her mother, who's dying, you're supposed to think her mother was dying. That was the purpose, I believe, of her posting on September 8th. She hadn't posted her mother in years. And suddenly she posts a video of her mother looking frail and sick. That is intentional, okay? I'm tired of pretending that Erika was not using her Instagram to manipulate us, okay? You don't go from, my mom doesn't want to be posted on Instagram, I don't post my mom on Instagram for 2 years, so I'm now going to post her in a frail condition 2 days before Charlie gets assassinated. That feels manipulative to me, just like it feels manipulative that we were taken into Charlie's casket. Okay. She posts that, and the New York Times said she's in the hospital, so everyone runs with that. That's not true. Erika's mother was not in the hospital on September 8th. She was not in the hospital on September 9th, and she was not in the hospital on September 10th. I can debunk that formally. But they let that go for a reason. Well, then another little lie that Erika tells is that at least the reporter reports that Erika found out that Charlie was dead while she was airborne. This is a direct quote from the article. Now, mind you, if a journalist, and New York Times would have had a recorder there, obviously, but if a journalist gets something wrong, you can just contact them and say, you recorded this wrong. This article has never been corrected, okay? It says, Mr. Kirk's chartered plane traveled back to Scottsdale to ferry his wife to Provo. He was pronounced dead as she was airborne. I'm looking at the clouds and the mountains. Ms. Kirk recalled of those surreal hours. It was such a gorgeous day, and I was thinking, this is exactly what he last saw. Do you think that the New York Times reporter made that up? He was pronounced dead while she was airborne. Do you think that, no, it is the most crucial detail. You're a journalist, you go in, you're going, I have the biggest story since 1963. I'm sitting down with the Jackie Kennedy of 2025, right? I have the biggest story, and I'm gonna mess up this detail. When you ask, where were you? That's the first question you ask. Where were you when you got the news that your husband was dead? You think the journalist messed up? I say no. I say the journalist was told that Erika was on a plane. Could you go back, Dom, and pull me back up the minute-by-minute timeline so we can see what time that would mean she found out? Right? 2:31 p.m. Utah time. Just 9 minutes before President Trump. No, that's not true. It's just false. It's not even what Erika told me to my face. It's not even what Erika told me to my face. She said, which more closely mirrors what Elizabeth McCoy said, that she found out. Elizabeth McCoy said right when she got to the airport. This is like an hour and a half difference, okay? This is crazy. You can't just make stuff up. And Elizabeth McCoy similarly reflected the New York Times version of events. It made it sound like implied Erika was either airborne
never know
or,
the truth.
I would say,
oh yeah, you don't have to block pressure.
Because Elizabeth McCoy posted this on her Instagram
yeah, don't block
back
pressure.
in October. She wrote this. No one teaches you how to comfort a woman on a plane.
I believe Candace
only moments before became a widow on her way to face the reality of her husband's assassination. Moments before. Now you're comforting her. It sounds like Erika's on a plane. So that was the story until the story changed.
Pressure, the reason why we even talking about this.
Erika knew before she got on the plane. The plane came later. Ladies and gentlemen, there are just too many inconsistencies.
He challenged my mindset.
There are too many.
It made me go deep.
It is
made me think
for
deeper.
people to ignore the cascade of inconsistencies in the days leading up to the assassination, in the immediate commentary that Erika gave to the New York Times reporter.
Pressure, make sure you type again so I know that you wasn't blocked.
I was wrong on that. Oh, I can't really recall what he did the night before.
I kind of know the truth. It's just more truth is coming out.
Brings up the New York Times that seems slightly adjusted, like the night before. Later on, when she's with Jesse Waters, the big thing is Gigi. New York Times article, there's like not really a mention of, there's not a mention of Gigi at all the night before, where Charlie's snacking and waking people up the night before. She also slightly adjusts in the New York Times article when she says that she heard him like close the door when he left. But then later on, we're going to hear that she saw him grab his necklace and put it around his, like, okay, so did you see him or did you just hear him close the door? You have to go back to the beginning when you do an investigation.
Is Charlie
so much transpires, and you have so much more information. We're 6 months removed. You have so much more information
even gone. Okay.
at our fingertips, and it's time that we go back to the beginning and we recognize.
Yeah, because they can't get their story straight.
This is not right, and guess what?
And we've had a couple of few Charlie's sightings.
Angry, which I think is another sign that we are getting very.
I'm thinking really he wherever. What's that show?
About Drewski, a comedian who dropped a video about Erika Kirk, and it's gone absolutely viral.
He at Fort
Huachuca. Show you that video when we get back. All right, you guys, knick-knack is something that has become a regular in our house lately.
But do Candace know he in Fort Huachuca?
They're not just another pouch. Knick-knack is a fully dissolvable nicotine lozenger that you place between your lip and your gum. It slowly dissolves, so there's no smoke, no vapor, and no spit. Nobody likes Steel / Owens. The problem when you are like
but I think Erika's definitely involved
planning something is that you always plan things too perfectly, right? It's too perfect. It doesn't account for humanity. That was what I initially started recognizing was wrong with Erika and her responses. It's so perfect. She just found the courage to forgive someone who hadn't even pled guilty, hadn't even entered in a plea of guilty, but she forgave him. Didn't want to hear anything he had to say. I forgave him. It's over. That's so perfect. She gets to the hospital.
And they got pictures of them long time ago. Erika and Tyler Robinson. I told y'all he was a crisis actor.
Her blood-soaked outfit, and she said she wanted people to see what they did to her husband. That's exactly, almost verbatim what Erika said, that she said when she got to the hospital, right? I want to see what they did to my husband. It's like they planned for everything to be so profound, right? So profound. And guess what? That's not how human beings operate.
No.
You're a mess, right? We're sloppy, we're messy. You're angry. They forgot to account for real human emotions when they planned what feels like an AI response. They forgot that they shouldn't be like joyful. I thought the surgeon got him cleaned up
before the wife got there, so it wouldn't be blood all over the place.
Hey, maybe not doing the Zoom call a couple of days after. Maybe not New York Times. I don't think a widow would do that. People recognize all across the world
I think she is investigating the truth.
With Erika Kirk, and your best guess, if you were just trying to extend the most
Joe Kent confirmed that she is
maybe she just didn't love
investigating the truth. He confirmed
fighting in the end, and that's why she's just like, okay, whatever, I don't care. We were on the rocks or something like that. But even if you were a friend of his, you'd be reacting differently. Everything's wrong. And that is why comedians have picked it up. Comedians like Tim Dillon, comedians like Joe Rogan, and like Drewski, who has dropped an absolute viral video kind of mocking more broadly conservative women. And sort of, I kind of picked up on it this year too, so I'm going to back him up here. But this sort of Christian grift, but it doesn't really feel like Christianity that we're looking at.
That was the whole reason why I got involved.
It would be a total lack of justice. Because it wasn't Christian. To you the video, I'm sure you've seen it. It's been everywhere. Here is Drewski mocking conservative women, namely Erika Kirk. Get on your feet!
Let me go back. Hold on, let me set it up so you see it.
Raging in Iran. We're praying for all the soldiers and troops. That's great that you're praying, but
how about all the kids that died when the USA hit the towers?
It broke my heart. That is the
oh my God.
In what ways have you grown closer to Jesus?
I serve.
It doesn't really feel like Christianity that we're looking at.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, let me not do him. It would be a total lack of justice for me to try to explain to you the video. I'm sure you've seen it. It's been everywhere. Here is Drewski mocking conservative women, namely Erika Kirk. Get on your feet!
Ooh, she would have twerked. Ooh, she would have twerked.
Raging in Iran.
We're praying for all the soldiers and troops.
That's great that you're praying, but
How about all the kids that died when the USA hit the towers?
It broke my heart.
Thank you, Mrs. Tom.
In what ways have you grown closer to Jesus?
I serve a righteous God. And that is why we say our prayers. We are all his children. But when I say children, I mean like the holy, blessed Trinity, which is why I hold the Bible.
Thank you for clocking, Rodney. Twerk.
We have to protect all men in America.
Out of who?
Especially all white men in America.
So good.
Those are the boys that we care about in this country. America is built on their backs.
On the backs of white men.
They
Really?
are the ones who matter the most.
Thank you.
Okay, that black guy.
Name one.
Didn't say a single word, and so just takes away
Name the white man who backs it with my arm.
This is how everybody's feeling. Everybody, for the first time, it's not left or right. It's like everyone's united in feeling this.
Yeah.
It feels fake. It feels wrong. Tim Dillon called it out early. It feels like they just want our money, and they're just going to keep saying the Lord and God and God and the Lord, so we can't question things. Because it would just be, oh my God, it would be demonic, as they always say. It's demonic. It's evil. How dare you question a grieving widow? Like they are
She ain't
trying
grieving,
to
though.
use this idea of Christianity as a shield. And I was hinting on that again, removing Erika Kirk from the scenario. I was noticing all of these women that make videos. They're just catty. They're just influencers, but they try to find a Bible verse. It's like, I'm not actually catty. This is the Bible verse, and I can tell you why I don't. Yeah, I'm not. It's not that I dislike this person. I'm just objectively telling you why you should dislike this person. But I'm using a Bible verse. Stop doing that. Just stop doing that. It's inauthentic, and people are seeing this for what it is. And I'm glad that this has gone absolutely viral. And some of the responses have been amazing. First and foremost, Grok, who apparently didn't wear his glasses today, and he accidentally. Someone said, Grok, who is this? And Grok replied and said, that's Erika Kirk. The actress and comedian starring in Drewski's satirical skit. So he thinks Erika Kirk starred in the skit, which is hilarious. So very, very funny. And then you can, of course, expect all of the Israel firsters who have been defending her, which has been very weird. Immediately that the Israel firsters are defending her. Another clue, another data point. They were going to be upset. Ted Cruz tweeted that this was beneath contempt. Whenever you are describing a comedian as beneath contempt, you're probably losing. Yeah, it's funny. It's objectively funny. And I have always had this stance, by the way. But the pettiest person who came in, the person who was most upset by this, is Andrew Colvett. Look what Andrew Colvett commented. Now do conservative black women. Guys, I think he's referring to me. I don't know. But I feel like he is referring to me. Drewski, you have my permission. If you want to do a skit about me, that works. Andrew, why are you so mad? Why are you so mad? Now do conservative black women. What are you talking about? I've been made fun of by the left since I started my career. Like, I've been on Saturday Night Live. They made fun of me. Dave Chappelle did a skit about me. My response was, this is funny. It's cool. It's legendary that Dave Chappelle knows my name. You want to know why you're mad? Because you're guilty. Your conscience is bothering you. You're angry that you have so much money. You guys have so much money, so much influence, so much power to the White House. You can get Scott Bessent to issue a letter and say Turning Point is in great financial standing. Imagine having that much power, but actually no influence. That many resources, but that spend it on these influencers. Everyone can see it's inorganic because we're all feeling the same about Erika Kirk. He's big mad because he's getting exposed and the walls are closing in. That's my opinion. And one area of interest, by the way, which I want you guys to pay attention to, because I think this could be something, and I'll briefly run you through it, but obviously Fort Huachuca, like I said at the top, it was very obvious that this was a trigger. Andrew was feeding information to like obscure podcasters, trying to get them to attack us over Fort Huachuca, as opposed to them being like interested. Again, they keep forgetting how they're supposed to act. Like, you should reach out to me and be like, hey, I saw your podcast, Candace. They think they saw Brian Harpole? That's crazy. Can you just like connect me so I can see if he was there? No, they're like, attack her.
So nobody gonna hit the like button?
Said Andrew. What fort? Some fort. Erica wasn't at some fort. Well, what was Mitch's story?
Well, okay, yes,
the substance of it was that he saw Brian Harpole at Fort Huachuca. He felt he was almost certain they saw Brian Harpole at a meeting that was concluded on September 9th, the day before Charlie was assassinated early in the morning.
Lightly, baby.
Erica then
don't block him, no. Don't.
Denied that story pretty aggressively, I would say. That's what began the tour.
But she
that
do got a rent.
Stop.
And when I step away,
moment. It's like they sent her out there to say, everyone just stop, when we mentioned Fort Huachuca.
I got my eye on him,
Well, Baron Coleman has a source who I have since confirmed to alert him to the fact that there was another plane as associated with Turning Point USA that is
she get you while I'm
familiar
gone.
with Fort Huachuca.
Oh,
and
well.
the kind of the notes here are that on September 10th, when Charlie was assassinated, this plane flew in.
Okay, there you go, Miss Tom. There go.
They flew in the
there go Laura.
And
Laura.
after Charlie's assassination on October 4th,
lizard, gizzard.
Headed up to Kalispell,
there go
Montana,
one.
which was
She thought it was safe.
a familiar stop for the plane.
You gonna listen to me?
From Texas that day.
You gonna listen to me, Laura Lizard? If you don't like it, beat your feet. You didn't hit the like button, no way. Next time, put your message on the super chat or super sticker. Laura Lizard, there she go. There she go. I thought you got her. Get her out of here. Get that biatch. Let me get that hoe. Oh, you timed her out? No, it ain't good enough for me. She tried it. Get her out of here. Out of here. Never to return. Get your ass out of here. Who you thought you was playing with, girl? You better check yourself. Joe said, piss off, Lori. Laura Ingalls. Little House on the Prairie. Yes, indeed. Laura Ingalls. Get your ass up out of here. The fuck you think you at? Okay? Yeah. Because you going to try to tell me to shut up. Oh, okay, well, I bet you shut up. I bet you we never hear from you again. You shut all the way up. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Whatever you are. Him, shim, Kim. I bet you we don't hear from you. Who unhidden her? Who unhid?
Strange that.
Okay, so wait a minute. Who unhid her?
Kalispell, Montana, Arizona. There just seemed to be a pattern in where these planes were going. And so Barron is
why did you unhide her when I hid her?
The brakes on wanting to figure out whose plane this is.
I hid her.
Share information.
You restricted her.
You know, somebody out there might know something.
I hid her for good. I don't want her to ever come back over here again trying to tell me to shut up.
This was a plane, I was told, from a TPUSA.
It said was unhidden. Okay. No. She don't get no pass. She don't come back another day. She out of here. Let's go. She tried it. Hold on. Oh, you hit her again. Yeah, you try it with your mama. You play them games with your mama. You don't play them with me. Okay, let's go.
Erica then denied that story pretty aggressively, I would say. That was when
I wasn't supposed to say that.
The tour that led to the infamous stop, just stop moment. It's like they sent her out there to say, everyone just stop, when we mentioned Fort Huachuca. Well, Baron Coleman has a source who I have since confirmed who alerted him to the fact that there was another plane as associated with Turning Point USA that is familiar with Fort Huachuca.
And subscribe,
the,
yeah.
Kind of the notes here
Only
are that
person
on September
that
10th, that when Charlie was assassinated,
that
this
could correct
plane
me is somebody
flew
who
in,
support me.
the evening after
You don't
Charlie's
support me,
assassination,
you
so
don't have a
later in the
voice
evening
like
from
that. So
Chicago.
you need to understand
And
your
then after
surroundings
Charlie's
for real.
assassination on October 4th, that plane was in Fort Huachuca all day before it headed up to Kalispell,
Ain't that right,
Montana,
G-Sippers? I
which
support
was a
my
stop,
people.
a
My
familiar
people
stop
can
for the
correct me
planes
if
that
I'm
were
wrong.
going from Texas that day. Very strange that Kalispell, Montana, Arizona, there just seemed to be a pattern in where these planes were going. And so Barron is starting to press the brakes on wanting to figure out whose plane this is. And I always want to share information because,
You a
know,
guest.
somebody
You
out
better
there
stay
might
in the
know
guest
something.
place.
And so here is Baron Coleman just explaining exactly what it is that he discovered very quickly.
This was a plane, I was told from a TPUSA insider, is frequently used by TPUSA. I was going through their stuff, and I just wanted to look around the September 10th time frame. Because September 10th, this is the flight that I'm pretty sure had someone related to the Charlie Kirk takedown. This is September 10th, Chicago to Provo. It had previously...
Here is Baron Coleman just explaining exactly what it is that he discovered very quickly.
This was a plane, I was told from a TPUSA insider, is frequently used by TPUSA. I was going through their stuff, and I just wanted to look around the September 10th time frame. Because September 10th, this is the flight that I'm pretty sure had someone related to the Charlie Kirk takedown. This is September 10th, Chicago to Provo. It had previously been in Pierre. My guess is that Pierre to Chicago flight was a repositioning flight. It left Pierre, South Dakota at 2:40 p.m. It landed in Chicago at 4:06 p.m. Less than an hour later, it left for Provo, presumably, I presume, with Charlie Kirk's parents, but I can't state that with any degree of certainty, but I think so. I think so. Regardless, it was a TPUSA leg of this flight. And so I start looking through here, and I start seeing stops that are pretty consistently TPUSA, and then I get to this weird flight here. This is Fort Huachuca.
There we go.
Atlanta to Fort Huachuca. It lands at 9:33 a.m. and it's there all day. It does not leave until 4:39 p.m. Why is a plane frequently, I don't want to say exclusively used by TPUSA, but I want to say frequently used by TPUSA? Why is a plane used by TPUSA going to Fort Huachuca? The plane we were looking at went to Fort Huachuca. The new plane went to Fort Huachuca on October 4th and then went to Kalispell. I am in the process of trying to figure out what the hell's going on in Kalispell. But the reason Kalispell draws my attention is it's in Montana. Kalispell is in Montana. It was in Montana after going to Fort Huachuca on October 4th. It was the following day, October 5th, when the security team, including Butch Hibbs, for some reason, random preacher's brother, is also there with them. I cannot put out of my head that there's a connection here. I just cannot get out of my head that there's a connection. There was a flight from Kalispell to Bozeman. Bozeman is where the guys met up to go to Ferry Lake the following day. So if you believe, as I do, that TPUSA people were on that flight that went to Fort Huachuca and then went to Kalispell, there was a flight, a private plane flight, that went from Kalispell to Bozeman the next day. That's the day when everybody showed up and they had their security team retreat or something. I don't know what it was. Debrief? I don't know what they were doing there.
Picked up by the vice president's plane on that day and then taken over. Just 1 hour money, and they're just...
I get to this weird flight here. Why is a plane frequently, I don't want to say exclusively used by TPUSA, but I want to say frequently used by TPUSA? Why is a
I
plane
thought it was the 10th,
used by TPUSA
the day before 9/11.
going to Fort Huachuca? The plane we were looking at went to Fort Huachuca. The new plane went to Fort Huachuca on October 4th and then went to Kalispell. I am in the process of trying to figure out what the hell's going on in Kalispell.
Let me double check.
But the reason
Yes, the
Kalispell
10th,
draws
okay.
my attention is it's in Montana. Kalispell is in Montana. It was in Montana after going to Fort Huachuca on October 4th. It was the following day, October 5th, when the security team, including Butch Hibbs, for some reason, random preacher's brother, is also there with them. I cannot put out of my head that there's a connection here. I just cannot get out of my head that there's a connection. There was a flight from Kalispell to Bozeman. Bozeman is where the guys met up to go to Ferry Lake the following day. So if you believe, as I do, that TPUSA people were on that flight that went to Fort Huachuca and then went to Kalispell, there was a flight, a private plane flight, that went from Kalispell to Bozeman the next day. That's the day when everybody showed up and they had their security team retreat or something. I don't know what it was. Debrief? I don't know what they were doing there.
So I do want to issue just one correction to what he said. Definitively, Charlie's parents were not on that plane because J.D. Vance sent the Air Force to pick up Charlie's parents. And so Charlie's parents were definitively picked up by the vice president's plane on that day and then taken over. So was somebody else coming from Chicago that day where they sent the plane? It does seem to be that this plane could be, I shouldn't say definitively, but it's plausible that this plane is attached to their security apparatus. And so that's interesting. I show that only because in case you know any information about that tail number, what was that? Could you, just so I can say it again, was the tail number N289MM? I gotta just see that again.
The only way to
then
have
you
to
should
shoot
definitely
is
email
someone
Barry Coleman.
has
You can
to
also
be
email us at
assumed dead. He is assumed
moretips@CandaceOwens.com.
dead, ain't he?
If you freeze
Charlie
it, I can see
was
that. If you just want to bring up
gone.
that screen and not play it, I think he
Tell
shows
the
it right away.
truth. So now he
I just want to make sure I get
have
that
to
tail number
play
right.
dead. Charlie
One of you guys tell me
was
what that tail number
gone.
is. I didn't write this
Tell
down for
the
some reason.
truth. So now
Cool.
he
Okay, it was really wrong.
have to play dead.
N582MM is that tail number. Okay. Anyways, you guys, a lot going on. I should also mention that the Egyptian planes are back in town in Provo, just in time for Brigitte to be back in town in D.C. It is interesting to recognize the patterns of these planes. I will have a lot more to say about that. I just kind of wait and reel
she
these
was
people
there
in
with,
nice and slowly. And we are not done. I can tell you guys, we are not done
Melania.
with the Egyptian planes.
They playing with kids. Pressure. Melania and Brigitte.
All right, you guys, question. Have you
It's
ever
over
tried
some
keeping up
kids
with
summit
crypto? It
thing.
moves all the time. Midnight,
Why is it
2 a.m.,
always
3 a.m., the market
kids
just never
pressure?
sleeps. And if you are like most people,
Why your people them, your cousins and them,
all right, you guys, top
always
comments
got
from last
something to do
episode.
with
Me too, writes if they
kids.
protect
Melania is over some kid organization, and Brigitte was sitting next to her. I said, ooh. So they finna start grabbing kids and shit again. Oh my goodness.
Charlie before September 10th, as much as they protect Erika after September 10th, he might still be alive. That is so true. And she's just in a bubble and not allowed to speak to people. Obviously, like I said, truth just doesn't fear to be inspected. You can just go sit down, do a podcast, speak to people, answer questions, put things to bed. And people can see the money they're spending, right? People don't like feeling as though there are others in the world who think that they can simply pay to edit their opinions, right? They don't have to face up anything. They don't have to speak to anybody. I'm just going to pay a bunch of influencers to say something and to attack anybody who criticizes somebody. There's something very like let them eat
Y'all
cake
know
about
what
that,
it
right?
is.
Let them eat cake. We're not
But
going
can we
to come down and
prove
speak to
it?
anybody.
Is
We're
the
just going
question.
to pay for aggressive PR campaigns every single day. I mean, the attacks on Ivan Drago, it's so crazy. It is just, I can't even blink. And there's another attack. First, they started with like,
I
I'm
don't
so
have
in
no
love.
answer
I
for that. Hey,
retweeted
me.
one of these today.
I was hoping. I ain't gonna lie. I was hoping
Charlie
that
Kirk, and that's why I'm just so angry because
Memphis
he picked Erika.
would show up and
Yesterday,
show
they were
out
really
the
saying
other
that's
day when
lesbian.
he was in Memphis.
It can't be both, guys.
Oh, I was
actually loved
hoping
Erika.
North
Sad
Memphis
that Charlie got Erika. They
Vegas.
have no arguments anymore. They just smear. They just name call Rabbi Walicki. I mean, their attacks against Joe Kent. It's so obvious that was a campaign that's calling him a traitor.
What's this street?
Because they're so angry that a text message got out, and Andrew believes that he gave it to Joe Kent, and maybe Joe Kent sent it around to other people, and it made the rounds. But Andrew told everybody about that text message. Everybody, including myself, about that text message. So
I was hoping Tate would show up and show out, teach him a lesson.
The only way they're ever going to get back in
put
control
him out of his misery.
Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. People can handle that. They can handle you sitting down and telling them.
Yeah, I was hoping North Memphis would show up and show out.
And I think there is a huge reason that you guys don't want to do that. Right? I think this entire situation stinks to high heaven. DBR or DB5 wrote,
and boy, when you need him.
Sheridan lives in the same complex as Charlie and Erika. That is super weird. More and more, it seems like they were all working to smother Charlie and make sure he was closely watched and handled. Yeah, she does. And I
wonder did he go in 201 Popular?
Mikey McCoy, I don't know if he has a place in there, him and Elizabeth, but they are there all the time because I have sources that live in the building, obviously. Like every single day, they are there. And they are working, they all work in like the community center there. And everyone finds it to be very creepy. It's like, what is this kid who's like, 22 years old, just kind of slid right into Charlie's chair right after and was doing interviews from his office. Like, what wife would even want that kid in her husband's office doing interviews, moving things around, right? Moving things around in the office. That's insane to me that she would provide him that access. Again, the behavior is what people are noticing is not normal. It is the reaction and the behavior is not tracking with a grieving widow. And you can't just pay neocons to attack us to change our understanding that the circumstance is odd, right? Everything that's happening is very odd. Okay, questions from today's episode, questions and comments, pardon me. Kelly Martin writes, I miss not knowing who Erika Kirk was. Yeah. Flame of Love Carmel writes, Catholics for Candace, thank you so much. James the Least writes, Baron Coleman crash out should be a regular feature of the show. I know, they're so good. He just has these little crash outs. But I feel him when he has it.
Can't nobody touch a hair on Trump.
Cheryl writes, remember when Charlie was so excited and when South Park did him? That's so true. Charlie celebrated that. And made
I
fun
thought
of
if anybody can get near that ear,
and so it's like, okay, you noticed and
it would have been
and great. I'm
Tate
now
and Boyd.
It's mainstream. I've become mainstream, and that was his perspective. You know, they're angry because there's something there that they recognize to be very true.
We're Trula Mafia when you need them.
So if they're not getting their bang for their PR
oh, they
buck.
gone.
How could this be?
No.
We spent so much money on that. I hate Candace and
where was EBG?
And hate.
damn,
Everybody else
they
who's telling the truth about
Damn.
Charlie's opinions or whatever, or people that are just meaningfully trying to investigate.
Where's RRRR?
Crazy. Cameron Byer writes, I just knew Candace would say something about Drewski, sending love and aloha to everyone from Hawaii. Aloha. A UFO writes, Andrew Colvett, ha 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 ha. Yeah, he's big bad. Go after black conservatives. Who's he talking about?
This should be real quiet.
Just say it. I want Andrew to just come on the show, man. I just want him to come on the show. They're never going to come on the show. Rabbi's not going to come on the show. They all want to smear me, say things about me. Nobody wants to come on the show and discuss these things with me. If you believed it, if you believed I got something wrong, and I may have along the way. But guess what? If I get something wrong, I will change it. I will say upon more information, I realized that the theory that I put out is not correct. And here's how I know. I'm happy to make those edits. So why be stressed about what I am saying? If you see me on the show changing things, like when I got the timeline wrong with Nick Shirley, and the very next day I said, oh, Nick Shirley contacted me, and I changed it.
She will correct it.
You can't answer these questions.
She will correct when she's wrong. That's one thing about it.
Charlie celebrated that and made fun of it because he wasn't doing anything wrong. So it's like, okay, you noticed and you're making fun of me, and great, I'm now it's mainstream. I've become mainstream, and that was his perspective. You know, they're angry because there's something there that they recognize to be very true. And they also feel like they're not getting their bang for their PR buck. How could this be? We spend so much money on that. I hate Candace and hate Joe Kent and hate everybody else who's telling the truth about Charlie's opinions or whatever. Or people that are just meaningfully trying to investigate, like Joe Kent. Crazy. Cameron Byer writes, I just big bad. Go Go after black conservatives. Who's he talking about? Just say it. I want Andrew to just come on the show, man. Mainstream. I've become mainstream, and that was his perspective. You know, they're angry because there's something there that they recognize to be very true. And they also feel like they're not getting their bang for their PR buck. How could this be? We spend so much money on that. I hate Candace and hate Joe Kent and hate everybody else who's telling the truth about Charlie's opinions or whatever, or people that are just meaningfully trying to investigate, like Joe Kent. Crazy.
Oh, he can't touch her hair on his wig. It's just toupee.
Aloha to everyone from Hawaii. Aloha.
It's crossover.
UFO writes Andrew Colvett. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, he's big bad. Go after black conservatives. Who's he talking about? Just say it. I want Andrew to just come on the show, man. I just want him to come on the show. They're never going to come on the show. Rabbi's not going to come on the show. They all want to smear me, say things about me. Nobody wants to come on the show and discuss these things with me. If you believed it, if you believed I got something wrong, and I may have along the way, but guess what? If I get something wrong, I will change it. I will say upon more information, I realized that the theory that I put out is not correct.
Yeah,
and here's how I know. I'm happy to make those edits. So why be stressed about what I am saying if you see me on the show changing things? Like when I got the timeline wrong with Nick Shirley, and the very next day I said, oh, Nick Shirley contacted me, and I changed it. It's because you can't answer these questions. It's been 6 months. If you could answer these questions, you would. And why can't you answer the questions? I will leave it at that. I will let that be a rhetorical question. Why can't you come forward and answer all of these questions and put everything to bed? And please stop saying it's going to impact the case. That's nonsense. The truth is not going to hurt and harm your case. What flight Andrew took on September 10th is not going to harm your case against Tyler Robinson unless it's incriminating to somebody else. Creme de la Crime writes, the level of vitriol I've seen today on socials, attacks from every possible angle they can think of, shows how close you are and how low they are willing to go. The world sees, never give up, go Max. I know it's been especially insane today. Someone put together this piece of information. It couldn't have been more inaccurate that my husband hit somebody, hit and run, or hit somebody while he was drunk, and then they pulled up insurance receipts, and it's just, oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh,
no,
what?
not that, the insurance one. Like, that was, they were trying to connect it to that. He got drunk and he hit a person. She blocked out that person has black hair and black eyes, which my husband does not have. And then they said, oh, and further to that point, here's the person that her husband hit when he was drunk. And yeah, I don't think you have it. But whatever, I didn't give it to you. It was the whole piece, whatever. We'll show it next week. But they showed an insurance claim that somebody made for $6,000 and was like, this must be the person that they harmed. Please reach out to that person. If you believe in your heart of hearts that my husband struck somebody on the side of the road, and we've been hiding that, and then we gave him $6,000 and he went away, please find that victim. People are just so dumb on the internet, but you're right. The attacks have been coming in every different direction, and it's been insane. Chi-Town writes, Candace and Barron are American heroes. Absolutely phenomenal investigating. Thank you both and all of the sleuths at home working hard to bring you tips. The truth will prevail. Christ is king. Seven Sheets writes, do we know who Charlie was staring at before his last in-home interview? That is what betrayal looks like to me. It's heartbreaking. Charlie deserves better. I have a suspicion that Notorious, I don't think we have it, but Charlie's looking to the side right before he goes live with Laura Ingraham. Based on what Frank Turek said, I think he's looking at Frank Turek. And I am working on a tip that somebody told me that Frank Turek changed his schedule.
I always have a protein shake.
He was supposed to have an appointment somewhere else, and he changed it last second. Like in another state. And I'd always wondered why Frank Turek was in Scottsdale on September 8th. I wondered what he was doing. It's a frequent stop for him. I think not. He said he goes like once or twice a year. Why then? Why traveling with Charlie? But it would be very interesting if Frank was not supposed to be there, and he was. Again, I'm working on that tip, so it might not prove fruitful, but it would show.
Oh, I saw something about. I need to try to find some
with Charlie and Erika
coconut milk powder.
And rabbis and priests were praying, not because Charlie
but that protein powder is also a good idea.
A Jezebel article that went up. That's just not who Charlie was. He had a good sense of humor, especially when it came to people that
maybe tomorrow I'll do that little thing that I plan to do.
But we haven't been told the truth about anything. But we're getting close to the truth.
To help us get prepared.
We know we're getting close to the truth because
I never thought about
the attacks do not stop. They were not guilty. They would have no issue.
Right. Let me get this last 10-minute one in. oats. What they say? Steel something oats. A bag of that. It was something else. I got beans, but I probably need to get a bigger bag of black beans. It was something I gotta remember, but I didn't realize about because I don't drink milk, but it said powder milk stores better. This is, and then I thought about the coconut milk. Do they have? Let me read this. Let's hear this.
Because
So,
we always know.
naturally, Nolly not here.
Comes out. Always. And this will affect American politics.
Onan trying to sue Carl
It'll change the Republican Party forever, that's for sure. But there will be big political change because of this. And the reason the truth always comes out. Always. And this will affect American politics, maybe more than anything we've seen over the past 20 years. It'll change the Republican Party forever, that's for sure. But there will be big political change because of this. And the reason is really simple. Because the people who endorse this and lie to us about it and selectively ignore the suffering of other human beings, including their fellow Christians, have lost their... The people who endorse this and lie to us about it and selectively ignore the suffering of other human beings, including their fellow Christians, have lost their moral authority. And they will not regain it anytime. Other human beings, including their fellow Christians, have lost their moral authority.
What are you talking about?
And they will not regain it anytime soon.
Who are you talking about?
Because the people who endorse this and lie to us about it and selectively ignore the suffering of other human beings, including their fellow Christians, have lost their moral authority.
Is he talking about the upstate coconut milk powder is on Amazon? I just looked. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Tom.
There is a potential physical threat to the United States without going on and on and on and on and on about it. Okay. You should know that it exists, and it's one of the downsides of this war. The other downside that people are not considering in any great detail, I mentioned it a minute ago, but are the long-term effects of Israel's strategic goal in this war, which, as noted, differs from ours completely, which is territorial expansion. What exactly does Israel want? We don't know, but they clearly want to extend their borders, or at least the buffer zone around post-67 Israel. Whatever their actual goals are, while the rest of us are focused on whether we're going to invade Karg Island, probably not, by the way, who knows? The Israelis are tending to their own agenda using the cover of our military and our tax dollars, okay? It's just a fact. So one of the things they're doing is trying to grab southern Lebanon. Now, why does that matter? What's Lebanon? Who cares? Well, I don't know. If you're a Christian, you care, because Lebanon has the largest population of Christians in the region, by far. In fact, it was a Christian country for centuries. There's a Christian president of Lebanon. Did you know that? Every time Lebanon is mentioned, it's through the lens of like Israel's interest. But if you're a Christian, you know, you don't have to hate Israel, but you may have different interests. Like, what about the Christians? Well, Lebanon has a Christian president. The head of the military in Lebanon is Christian. And there are a lot of Christian villages, ancient Christian villages. Villages Jesus probably walked through, been Christian ever since. Only 2,000 years.
Desiccated. What is...
And they're being destroyed. Because under the cover of this war paid for and led by us, Israel has decided to take a big chunk of Lebanon.
Are you talking about the...
Israel's defense minister on Tuesday said the country's military will control southern Lebanon up to the Litani River. The remarks are the first time Israel has clearly spelled out its intent to seize swaths of territory that make up nearly a tenth of Lebanon. Israel has been trading fire with Iranian-backed Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon. That's after Hezbollah struck Israel following joint Israeli-American attacks on Iran. Rockets damaged buildings and vehicles in northern Israel on Tuesday. Katz has previously threatened Lebanon's government that it would lose territory if it did not disarm Hezbollah. Israel has destroyed 5 bridges crossing the Litani River and has accelerated the demolition of homes in Lebanese villages close to the Israeli border.
Do you have
Kat said, quote, "The principle is clear. If there's
shake-
terror and rockets, there will be no homes and residents,
Do you
and the
have
IDF
a
will remain
couple shaker
inside."
cups?
Did you know that was happening?
Mm-mm.
And why does it matter? Well, it matters because this episode in history is going to end at a certain point. This war will end.
Thank you, me.
Pray it's sooner rather than later, but at some point, all wars do end. And at that point, the truth comes out. Because the truth about everything will come out. Everything. It's just a matter of where on the timeline it does. But at some point, we will know what actually happened in this period and over the last 2.5 years.
Oh, the shredded coconut.
So if you look at the internet and you see pictures of war crimes committed in Gaza or the West Bank or now in Lebanon, you can't be certain they're all real. And of course, the shills on the internet will say they're all fake. But they're not all fake, actually. Some of them are real. Tens of thousands of people, non-combatants, women and children, have been killed by the Israeli military using our weapons, American weapons, paid for by the U.S. Congress. And there will be a reckoning over that. And there are indications, real indications, not anti-Semitic propaganda, but actual indications that war crimes have been committed. Torturing people, killing people, unarmed, non-combatants, kids, on purpose. There's a lot of that.
I ain't gonna go through that process.
Fake, some of it is propaganda.
You talking about put the coconut chips in there and shake it up and down?
And in the end, we're going to know. Because we always know in the end. And so you have to ask yourself, the people who are defending this and paying for it, would you want to be one of those people when we find this out? How about the religious leaders, the American evangelical leaders, not rank and file evangelicals who, if they knew, would be horrified, but the people who run the biggest evangelical associations in the United States, the people who run Liberty University, for example, or Franklin Graham. These are household names.
Not Amino.
Have they said anything about the destruction of churches and ancient Christian villages in a country in the Middle East?
I'm thinking amino acid.
Do you even know Lebanon?
It's time to go to sleep, y'all. I'll pick up on this tomorrow.
What about it?
Let me go. I don't put whole amino acids, and he talking about ammo.
That was the question that a lot of people asked the Reich Church after the Second World War ended in Germany. How could you have gone along with that? And there was not a good answer, other than
I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go. Bye. Good night. I read that all wrong. I'm thinking, why she gonna need amino acids?
It's very easy to predict. Big
I'm on survival on food. He on guns. Shoot a nigga down.
If you're for the family and you're for